Alright guys, so welcome to today's class, and in today's class we're going to be looking at CSS position. So we're going to be looking at how to position elements in our web page. So we can see that we have different position properties here. Value, we have the static, we have relative, we have fixed, we have absolute, and we have something known as Z index. So we're going to see all of these in action. First of all, let's go to our project. Let's create a new folder so I'm going to create a new folder, and then I'm going to call it CSS position. So let me say CSS positioning. Then I will hit enter again. So I right click inside, open with code. So I have to expand this, make it big, and come over to your new file, index.html. So I'm creating that file now. Okay, index.html. I need to change something. I need to change this to HTML. I also have to create a different file, the main.css file. Then in my index.html, type HTML for emit, and you output this HTML snippet. So what I want to do here in the title is CSS positioning. I hope that's correct. CSS positioning. Good. So the next thing I want to do, first of all, let me create a navbar, and let me say h1, and I say logo. So we're not really concerned about this navbar. I will say ul, I'll say li, then let's say a, and let's put home in here. Let's put about here. Let's put services. Let's put contact us. Let's put location. So I just want to add stuffs here, and let's leave it at this. So we're going to work with this navbar. The next thing I want to do is to create a main section. So a main is like a container. It's a div. It can be a div. It can be whatever. So I'm going to call this a main container, and in the main container I'm going to have an h1, and let's say this element or content, let's say content below. Then I will have to include my p tag and lorem. So let's save it and let's go live and see the result for this. So wait for it to load. Finally, we have something here. So we have our typical home page. Now let's add styling to this home page. First of all, we need to link our CSS. We need to tell HTML that we want to make use of our CSS, and the name of that file is main.css. Then I save, I come to my main.css. The first thing I want to select is the universal selector. Then I'll do a margin of 0, a padding of 0, a list style of none text decoration as well to remove the underline. I'm going to make that none as well. Then the next thing I want to do is to select my nav and I will say display flex, say just width, let's add width and say 100%, and let's say justify content space between. And what else can we do? Let's give it a background color of blue. Or let me select this color. Let's save and see the result. So we have our nav bar. The next thing we want to do is select our UL and make it flex. So UL, then display, not inline, but flex. Say width, let's give it a width so we can use justify content. So we can say width of 50%. Then we can say justify content space between. Let's save and see the result. So we have this navbar. The navbar is too squeezed, so let's add some spacing in our nav. So I come here and I will say padding. So I'm going to do top and bottom should be like 2 rem for test. Then left and right should be like 1 rem. So we can always change the figures. So when I save, and I think top and bottom is too much, so I'm going to reduce that to 1 as well and see the result. So this is 1, and then I think I shouldn't, let me remove for left and right as well. Removing for left and right. So the next thing I want to do, my texts are kind of hidden. So what I do usually is I come under my nav bar, I try to put all of these in a div. So I create a container and I put all of that in that container so that my navbar can, so I put all of them in that container. So when we go back, we will see that it's not displaying flex. So I have to give this div a class name, a class, and let me call it, so I'm going to call this navbar. Let's call it class navbar. Then when I come to my CSS, I'm going to change this nav to navbar. Then I'll have to add dots to it because I'm selecting that class. When I save, I should have that result. Okay. So what I really wanted to do was to give it a width of like 90%, and then I will give a margin. I will give a margin so that the items can be placed in the middle. Margin of 0 auto. When I save, so they are placed in the middle, but the background is not covering 100%. So what I will do now is to select the nav container. That's what should carry that background. And then I'm going to copy out this background color, copy that out and exit, and then I'll paste it inside of my nav. When I save, I have something that works for me. So this is how I like to style that. Now I would want all of the elements to take, you can see where the logo is starting from and where the location ends. First of all, let's change the color of this and say color should be white. Let's make the color white. or yeah, let's choose white smoke. But notice that only the logo will change. The other ones will not change. Another thing I want to do is to make it bold. So to make it bold, we use font weight to do that. And I will say bolder, and then I save. So the texts are bolder. The next thing I want to do right now is to select the A tag so that I can apply coloring to them. So I say A and I give it color. So remember we use white smoke. I'm going to use the white smoke as well for this. So we have our navigation bar now. Now let's come to the contents below. So I come to my index.html, so the main section. So I go straight to the main, select the main. That is an element, so I won't start with a dot. And I will see a width of 90%. I will also see margin of 0 and auto. Let's save and see. So we have the text in kind of measuring up very properly. The next thing I want to do is I want to add many text in this. So I want to add so many texts. So I'm adding, increasing the p tags to so much because I want to show us something. So after that, let me save and see the result. Okay, I wanted to show this screw, so I can screw to the down, and let's try our first action. But before that, let me change the margin top. Let me add margin top and bottom to this, and let me call it like 3 rem. Save that. So I want a space at the top of this. And the next thing I want to do is let me also select my H1. So main H1. And then I'm going to say text align. I want to place the text in the center. Center. Then I save. So my H1 is like this. And let me give it a margin bottom. Margin bottom of 1 rem. Then I save. So I have something like this. Now let's come to the nitty-gritty, the real thing that we want to work on. So we say that we have static, we have relative, we have fixed, absolute, and Z index. So for static, that is the default position of all the elements. The elements are in static position by default. So what we want to check for now is relative. So what you do, so from the nav bar, I come straight to my nav and I say position relative. When I save that, so this is what I get. Nothing really happened. It's the nav bar is still there. But what I can do is I can make use of actions like top, and I can say 330 rem, for example. And when I save, so you see what happens. Now the nav bar is kind of on top of the text. It's not hidden below the text. So I can do a Z index and I can say 0. When I save, nothing happened, right? What I want to do is to come to main, select main, then P, and give it a Z index of 10, for example. Then I save, nothing happened again. So we'll come to the Z index. We'll come to the Z index later on. So what I want to do next is instead of the top, so what I want to do next is we already have top to be 30 rem, and because we did a display position relative here, we can access top. we can access left, say like tree rem. We can access many other one, left, right, top, bottom, all of those. We can access all of those. So one unique thing about the top, left, and bottom and those guys is that it doesn't affect other elements. Let's say we do not have display and position relative. If I say margin bottom and I say that 30 rem, it's going to affect every other item. So you can see that it pushes the item below downward. Let's say we do margin top instead of margin bottom and save. So it's not only affecting the navbar, it's affecting other elements, it's pushing them downward. So this is for the static display. But when we now say position absolute, when we now say position relative, and rather, when we say position relative, we can now make use of top and position the navbar exactly where we want it to be. So you can see we've been able to do that. Now let's go to the next one, which is position fixed. So fixed means the navbar, this particular navbar, will not move no matter what happens. The navbar will remain on the screen. So let's remove this to fixed and save that, and then we'll come back to our navbar. So we're having issue. The next thing we want to do is to give it a width. Whenever you use fixed as your position, you need to give a width of 100% because it doesn't understand that. Now everything is changed. So we have this of 100% or whatever. Remember it was 90%. So no, okay, this was 100 actually. So 100%, and we have this already. Now when let's reduce this, let's say top 0. Let's say top 0. So place it at the very top. So you can see that this guy, it's at the very top. Now I can scroll and the navbar still remains there. I'm scrolling down and the navbar still remains. The navbar doesn't move. So that's what the fixed position does. Now let's come to absolute. Absolute will take the elements away from this normal structure. So it will take the element away from the structure of the page. So when I say display absolute, and then let's remove the width and see what happens. Let's remove these as well and save. And so we see we have the same thing like the fixed, but this time around, this one can be moved. The navbar doesn't remain there. So what we want to do is we want to do the top of 0. I want to give the width 100%. So it placed it on top like this, but when we scroll down, the navbar gets missing. The navbar doesn't stick to one position, it's not fixed. So that's for positions in CSS. Now what Z index means, when you look at the image that we have here, you can see that some of the images, some of the graphic we have here are kind of below. So there is a stack that we have one on top, another one in the middle, and the very last one. So the one with the higher number of Z index will take the topper position, will be displayed. So let's quickly try something with that. Let's make a button. Let's make several, or let's make an anchor tag. Let's say 1. Let's do like 4 more times, 3 more times. So this will be 4. The other one will be 3. Let's then this is 2. TWO2. The next thing we want to do is we want to give them class. So let's give them class. Let's say class. Now we want them to have different classes. So we can say link1, we can say link2, link3, and link4. So let's save this. Let's see it in our browser. So this is what we have. Oh, we can't find them. Oh, so remember that we gave them a color. We gave our anchor tag a color of white smoke. So let's make it specific to the anchor tags in the nav. So only those ones will have that color. Now we can see that we have our 1, 2, 3, 4. So first of all, let's take link1. Let's take link1. So dot link1. And let's give it a background color of red. Let's say position absolute. Let's say top is 5 rem. Save and see the result. So we have that there. Let's do the same for all of the other guys. So I'm going to say dot link to, no, I want to give them different colors. So I'm going to say dot link to. I'm going to have the same thing that I have here. Control C and paste it here. What I'm going to do is to change the color to a different color. So let me use this color. So I'm going to use that color. I'm going to do again for link 3, and for link 4. So changes to link 3, changes to link 4. Then I save. First of all, I need to change the colors of each of them. So for this, I'm going to use this color. For this, I'm going to use a more yellowish color. Then when I save, you can see they are all, but the fourth one is what is on top. So because that's the last one that we wrote here. So the last one is what is now on top. What we can do is we can come to our CSS and change that structure. We can say Z index of the fourth one, we'll make it 1. Come to this Z index, we'll make it 2. Let's save and see what happens. So we see that number 3 pops out. The reason is because we have given number 3 a priority that number 3 should display before number 4. We can now come over here and say Z index and we give it, so this is 2, we give it 3. So it will now show number 2 there. So you can see what is going on. And if we say Z index 4 for this one, this becomes what we see on the screen. So it's kind of stacking them, and while it's stacking them, it's going to place the one that has the highest Z index. That's the one that will be displayed on the screen. So guys, thank you for joining this tutorial. I'm going to be explaining further in the live session. See you in the live session. Bye.